we're at part 4. Let me get a little sip here. Okay, so, and we're doing the thoracic vertebra. Now what you'll notice is that the 7th cervical has this elongated spinous process, and so we call it the prominence. And in fact, you can put your finger at the base of your neck right now on the back, and you can feel that prominence. Okay, so then we have the rest of the 12 thoracic vertebra right here, and they're presenting for us. And again, we have the elongated and somewhat downward pointing spinous process. Here you'll notice that the superior articular facet is sort of sticking up like a pair of dog ears or something. Okay, so, and that's pushing up on the downward thing here, which is the inferior articular process. Let's see if we can get a good look here at what's going on. Okay, let's see, we have the transverse. Now they're actually showing us some facets here in the transverse process. So look, we're going to have to deal with that. Also, you'll notice way over here on the body, we have a transverse, not a transverse, we have a small facet for the head of a rib. So some part of the rib is going to fit in here on the transverse process, and the rib keeps coming around. It's this way, right? Like this. It's this way. This is the front out here, okay? And the heads go back this way, and the front comes this way, and the sternum is out here, right? So we have that going on. More sip. Okay, so let's come over here and take a look at our standard thoracic vertebra. Again, we have the transverse processes coming together to form the spinous process. We have the connection between body and transverse to form the pedicle. We have the superior articular process. Notice we have a transverse process out here. We have a demifacet, actually, that's sometimes called, here for the head of the rib on the body, and here. Okay, notice that here's our demifacet again. We just looked at a demifacet above. There's a demifacet below. There's a superior articular process here and here. Inferior is here. Here's the pedicle. Notice we have this nice notch, and that allows the spinal nerve rather, to go through. And we have the transverse process for the portion of the rib before we get to the head that makes contact there. So let's repeat the articulations. We have, again, 2 superior and a disc above. We have 2 inferior and a disc below. So that's our 6 articulations. And then we have a rib coming by this way. And we're going to have to digress for just a second to take a look at how the rib makes its little curve movement. And we'll come back, we'll do it maybe a couple times so that you understand. Here's a rib now. Okay. And the rib has a tubercle, and it's also got a head, it's got a neck to it. And notice how the rib is coming around this way. Normally we would have an articulated skeleton that you could look at. You could look through the rib cage here, and you would be able to see back. Oh, look at how the head of the rib is actually touching 2 bodies. Do you see that? And it's sort of pointing and poking at the disc right there. And then over here we have the angle of the rib, and the tubercle is going to go up against the transverse process. Here they show it in that regard. Here is the articular facet on the tubercle of the rib right here, and it's hooking up to the transverse process. Okay, so this rib is going to articulate 1, 2, 3 places. Okay, one above, one below, and over here in the transverse. Okay, so each of these ribs, vertebra, are going to have 3 articulations with a rib over here, and 3 articulations with a rib over here. There's going to be a little demifacet on one side, or above here, and then also below, and then over here, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, and if we need to do that again, we can always do that again. But at any rate, then how many facets here are there? How many joints are there for a thoracic? And we're going to note that there's 3 above, 3 below, 6 standard, and then we have 3 on each side for ribs. So 3 on each side is another 6, and now we're looking at 12 joints. Okay, how many over here on the cervical? We found 6 joints. Okay. Okay. So I need you to sort of like have that little piece of knowledge deep within yourself. Okay, and in all these cases, remember that we're allowing the spinal nerves to flow smoothly out and away from all these. But of course, because we have so many joints, and it's possible for these little complex bones to sort of rock around, it's possible to cause some pinching in various places. Okay, now what do you notice as you go from left to right here is that the entire nature of the bony structure here gets more substantial and more substantial, especially in the, they're sort of like not doing these to scale between each other, so you would have to see it actually an articulated skeleton to understand that more clearly. Let's see with the articulated presentation here if they've, yeah, I think you can get the idea here that these are less weight-bearing, these are more weight-bearing, and ultimately they're of a greater gauge. Okay, heavier. Okay, so here again we have the body, we have the pedicle, we have the lamina, spinous process, transverse. This is a very simple unit. There's 5 of them here between the rib cage and the iliac crest. Just 5 of them. Okay, we do have a nicely sized inferior notch here that fits into the pedicle, allows our spinal nerve to emerge. We have a superior and inferior articular processes. We have a disc above, a disc below. So basically 3 joints up, 3 joints down, 12 altogether. Not 12, 6, excuse me, altogether. And so we're going to make that notation right here that we have 6 joints. Just the way you like it. Okay. So make sure that we don't smudge anything. Okay. So there you have it. Go over that more at your own discretion or ask me questions. Okay, now we get to this little sort of, I don't know, sort of stealth aircraft B-1 bomber unit here, and we're going to pick that up in part 5.